Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, A Little Geek, A Little Chic. Today we are going to talk about the Backlist Readathon. So grab yourself your beverage of choice and let's get into it. So the Backlist Readathon was created by Jacqueline, and I will tag her channel down below with the video that she posted for the 2021 Backlist Readathon announcement. And I think they started it last year or the year before, I can't quite remember, but this year's is taking place March 7th through the 13th. So I thought I'm going to join this year because, like I said before in some of my videos, I have a large expanse of backlist books that I need to read. So what a better way to do it than to focus on backlist books for an entire week in March. And that's exactly what I've done. So if you want to join me in the Backlist Readathon, click on the link below with her channel. And if you have Storygraph, I believe is the new system that she's using to record all of her books. I don't yet. I'm still a Goodreads person, even though I have no idea what I'm doing, which is probably why I haven't delved into another platform. But she is using Storygraph to track her readathon participants. So if you have that, head on over there and you can join the readathon group right on the Storygraph site. So let's get into it. First, number one, the first prompt is, there's 5 prompts and a bonus prompt. I'm going to try to do all of the prompts, including the bonus prompt, which I will explain a little bit at the end, which you don't have to technically do. You don't technically have to do any of these. You can read one book that covers them all. There's really no rules, just that they're backlist titles and they meet the requirements. So the first book I picked for prompt number 1. Prompt number 1 is to read a book that was published prior to 2017. So for the Backlist Readathon, they're saying anything that was published 2020 or earlier. That is their backlist, 2020 or earlier. So nothing published in 2021, but it could have been December 2020. That's okay. I'm trying to go a little bit older. Some of mine are a little bit newer, but they still fit the prompts. This one is definitely published, I think it was 2015, and so not 2017. So earlier than that, so it fits the prompt, and it is We Are All Molecules. And it says, Ashley and Stuart's worlds collide when Stuart and his dad move in with Ashley and her mom. The Brady Bunch, it isn't. Stuart is trying to be 89.9% happy about it. He's always wanted a sister, but Ashley's 110% horrified. She already has to hide the real reason her dad moved out. Stuart could further threaten her position at the top of her social ladder. They are complete opposites, but they have one thing in common. They, like everyone else, are made of molecules. In this hilarious, deeply moving story, award-winning author Susan Nielsen has created 2 narrators who will steal your heart and make you laugh out loud. And I think this sounds great. It's been on my TBR for a very long time on my shelf here, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. So I thought, you know what? It fits the prompt. It's not super long, and it seems like it would be a good read for this challenge. The second prompt in this reading challenge is to read a backlist middle grade book. I heard this challenge number 2, and I was super duper excited because I really wanted to reread one of my favorite middle grade books and see if it still holds up as one of my favorite middle grade books. I know there's some cringeworthy parts PC culture wise with this book, but it was always one of my favorites, and I want to know if it still is one of my favorites. And that is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Ronald Dahl. I just loved this book when I was a kid. It's the first book I remember reading and then rereading again directly after finishing it and loving it both times and just flying through it. I think I've read this book like maybe 4 or 5 times, but never in the last like 15 years or so. So I'm excited to pick this up again and see how I feel about it. I also have The Great Glass Elevator on my shelf, which I also really want to pick up and reread because I only read that one like once, I think. So I can't really remember anything about it. So that's why I want to get back into these. So this is a great chance for me to reread this. I know that one of the co-chairs of the readathon, linked in Jacqueline's video, reads a lot of middle grade, and she has a lot of very good recommendations for you if you're looking for recommendations for this prompt. But I have this one And another one I'd like to recommend for you guys is The Girl Who Drank the Moon. If you haven't read that book yet, that is a middle grade book that is worth picking up, and it is amazing. So pick that one up for this prompt if you haven't already selected it. 3. The third prompt is to read a book backlist title from your favorite genre. I have a number of favorite genres, one being contemporary, one being thriller. I kind of really like some memoirs once in a while, but for this prompt, I am going with a thriller, and that is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, because I have not read this yet. I did love her other book, One by One, and I've heard nothing but great things about this one. I've also heard it's got some paranormal vibes, and it's definitely a different spin on a smart house. So I'm very, very excited to see what happens. I know it focuses around a nanny and her experiences in this smart house that's like always watching and what's going on. And it's just like the ultimate Big Brother situation. I'm so here for it. And this one is going to be my prompt number 3 for reading a book backlist title from your favorite favorite category or genre. And that would be, one of mine would be thriller. And let's just see when this was published. 2019. So definitely makes the cut for a backlist title. So far, I have no 2020 books in this pile, so that's good. That's a plus. Next up is to read an Own Voices novel. So for this, I picked one that's been on my shelf for a while. I read the first book by this author, and I really, really liked it. And it is an Own Voices novel author. She is Asian, and she knows about autistic issues and such, because she has some of those, I believe, herself. I'm not 100% sure, but it is an Own Voices novel, and that was The Kiss Quotient by Helena Huang. And I loved that book, and it was such a good book, and I picked up the sequel, and I just have not gotten to it yet. So I'm hoping to get to The Bride Test by Helena Huang. And this one focuses on, the first book focused on our main character who her parents want her to get married. She's a professional. She's very structured. She has like an ADHD, like compulsory mindset. And she decides that in order to be in a relationship, she needs to understand sex better. So what she does is she hires someone to explain it to her, a male escort, and they fall for each other. And it's a great, great book. And you know that from the beginning going in, but I'm not going to explain too much more about the characters and their backstories, because it's just great to get into. I highly recommend that book. If you need another option for a book for this category, that's one of them. But this book features, I think it focuses on the cousin of the main character in the first book, who also is on the spectrum, and an arranged marriage that's been set up for him, I believe. And so I am excited about this one, and I'm going to read this one for the Own Voices backlist title. Now let's see when this one was published. I think this one may have also been 2019. 2019. I have a lot of 2019 backlists on this thing, but that's okay. The final prompt before the bonus prompt is to pick up a book that you were influenced to put on your TBR by an influencer on either YouTube, Bookstagram, so Instagram, Twitter. It could have been a podcast. Just any book recommendation by one of those individuals that you watch or listen to that you thought, ooh, I want to read that, but you have yet to pick up. And for me, it is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I love Christina Lauren. I picked this up because the hype was real, and people are reading this today and still loving it. So with that being said, I decided to put this finally on my list and bump it up from my summer reads list to my March reads list, just to get it on there. Because let's be real, I have a whole lot of contemporaries that can go on the list for the summer, and I've picked up some more this year, so I'm going to get this one read, and it's going to happen. So this, I believe, is also a 2019. I picked it up and I never read it, and I'm just always look at it, I'm like, ooh, I want to read that. You know, you put those books on a pedestal? Yeah, 2019. And then you just never get to them, and they're on this pedestal, and they're so high, you're afraid that they're going to disappoint you. That's that book. So don't disappoint me, book. And the bonus prompt, if you are so inclined, is to read a book of the month backlist book that you have and you have not read yet. If you're not a Book of the Month subscriber, that's okay. You don't have to read the books. This is a bonus one, but if you're like me and you can't get Book of the Month in your country, so Canada, no Book of the Month yet, sad day for me, but that's okay because I still take recommendations from them because their books are usually really, really good. And I have picked up a number of them actually, and I have them on my wall right here, like Transcendent Kingdom is one. So, and I have so many. Daisy Jones and the Six, I read that one. It was great. So many books on here. But you know what? Hey, I buy them. So I do have some Book of the Month backlist books. So I should also do the bonus prompt. And so I went through my shelves, and there's one that I'm very excited to read, and it was September 2020, I believe, is when it was in a box. So it's my only 2020 book on the backlist book challenge. But it is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. So this book was published in 2020. And it was the September Book of the Month box. And I picked it up because of that box, and I have not gotten to it yet. It is, it sounds great. His signature satirical sarcasm, and it just sounds like I'm going to love it. So it's about a number of people who are in an open house for a condo or an apartment, and a criminal who has botched a burglary and basically busts into this open house and decides to take all these people hostage. And they're stuck in this room together, and they all are like sharing their woes and their issues and their problems, and the criminal is like, holy smokes, what did I get myself into? I feel like I might, like, is this really that bad? Or would I be better off with the police outside? So it just sounds like it's just going to be great. I know it's going to have some depth to it because Frederick Bachman's books always do, but his characters are very relatable. So I'm very excited to pick this one up and get it off of my TBR list. So those are it. Those are the books that I plan on reading for the Backlist Readathon from March 7th to the 13th. If you want to participate in the readathon, by all means, go ahead, go down to Jacqueline's video link down below and get all the deets and all of her links to the co-hosts of her readathon and her, I believe they have a podcast on like iTunes and all the different, I listen to it on Podcast Addict, so I know you can get it on there, and it is a great podcast. So I know that link is, I'll try to link it down below, but I know it's also in her description link in her video. So go check that out. Definitely tell her I sent you, and we can all be friends here on BookTube together, and we can start reading our backlist titles. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I always appreciate all the likes and all the subscribes. Your comments are super important to me, and they've just been great, you guys. They just make my heart happy. Thank you so much for being so welcoming to a BookTube newcomer like myself, and happy reading. See you in another video very soon.